My dear readers, teachers, students, and lovers of literature, I stand before you not as a sinner, not as a criminal, and not as a woman who must bow her head forever. I stand before you as a woman who is lonely. I stand before you as a wife who was denied love. I stand before you as a human being who wanted warmth, dignity, touch, and truth. And today, I want to ask you one simple question. If a woman is locked in a house, starved of love, denied companionship, and judged only by her body, who is guilty? The woman, or the society that built the cage? That is my story. That is the story of many women in India. And that is why Girish Karnad wrote me. Who am I, a bad woman or a feminist creation? People call me unfaithful. But before you judge me, listen to my life. I was married. I entered marriage with innocence. Like many young women in India, I thought marriage would mean friendship, care, companionship, and respect. But what did I get? I got silence. I got fear. I got isolation. I got a husband who treated me not like a person, but like an object. I was not a partner in my marriage. I was only a body placed inside a house. That is where my feminist meaning begins. Girish Karnad does not create me as a weak, flat, obedient wife. He creates me as a woman who begins in innocence, but slowly grows into selfhood. At first, I am shy. Then I begin to feel pain. Then I begin to ask questions. Then I begin to speak. Then I begin to stand. That journey, from silence to speech, is the heart of feminism. A feminist character is not always a woman who shouts from the beginning. Sometimes, she is a woman who first survives, then understands, and then resists. That is me. I am not just a wife in a play. I am a mirror of Indian womanhood under patriarchy. My resistance against patriarchal codes, norms, and laws. Let me say this clearly. Patriarchy does not only live in men. It lives in customs, shame, gossip, honor, family rules, and social fear. In my world, a good woman must obey without question, stay inside, never desire, never complain, never speak of pain, and remain pure according to standards made by men. This is not love. This is control. I resisted this control in many ways, even when I did not yet know the word feminism. My first resistance was survival. When a woman continues to live in a cruel system, that itself is resistance. My second resistance was feeling. Patriarchy wants women to become stone. But I did not become stone. I continue to long for affection, touch, and tenderness. My third resistance was truth of experience. My inner life mattered. My emotions mattered. My loneliness mattered. My fourth resistance was public courage. When society put me on trial, I did not disappear. I stood before the crowd. Please think of this in Indian terms. Even today, in many homes, a daughter is told not to laugh loudly. A wife is told to adjust. A woman is told to save the marriage at any cost. And if she speaks, people ask, what will society say? That one sentence, what will society say, has imprisoned millions of women. I resisted that prison. And let me tell the youth of India. A society that is more worried about a woman's reputation than her suffering is not moral. It is cruel. My individuality, I'm not only someone's wife. One of the biggest lies patriarchy tells is this. A woman has value only in relation to man. Daughter of someone. Wife of someone. Mother of someone. But who is she by herself? That is the question my life asks. I am not just Apana's wife. I am not just the woman in a village story. I am not just a body to be watched and judged. I am a person with a heart, a mind, a longing, a memory, a voice, and a right to meaning. This is my individuality. In many Indian families, a boy is asked, what do you want to become? But a girl is often asked, "Where will you get married?" See the difference? A boy is given a future. A girl is often given a destination. I reject that. I am not a destination. I am a self. My identity. I celebrate who I am. For too long, women are asked to live in shame. Shame for desire. Shame for beauty. Shame for speech. Shame for anger. Shame for being seen. Shame for existing freely. I refuse that shame. I celebrate my identity as a woman who is complex. I am soft, but I am not weak. I am loving, but I am not voiceless. I am vulnerable, but I am not empty. I am wounded, but I am not defeated. My identity is not a sin. And this is important for young women in India today. Whether you are in Ahmedabad, Delhi, Patna, Chennai, Shillong, Surat, or Guwahati. Whether you wear jeans, kurta, sari, hijab, or formal clothes. Whether you are in a village college or a metro university. Your identity is not a crime. You do not need permission to be fully human. My pain, the pain no one wants to count. Let me now speak plainly. My deepest pain was not only physical. It was emotional abandonment. Do you know what it means to be married and still be alone? Do you know what it means to speak and hear no answer? Do you know what it means to wait for tenderness and receive only fear? That is a pain many women know, but few are allowed to name. Indian society often counts only visible wounds. But what about these invisible wounds? The wound of neglect. The wound of humiliation. The wound of being doubted. The wound of being touched without love. The wound of being judged without being heard. These wounds are real. If a husband gives food and shelter, but no affection, no dignity, no companionship, is that a full marriage? No. That is a legal cage. My pain was not fantasy. It was social truth. My suffering. I suffered because society values honor more than women. Let us speak honestly. When men suffer, society often asks, "How can we help him?" When women suffer, society often asks, "What did she do?" That is the cruelty. When suspicion falls on a woman, she is already treated as guilty. This is why my suffering becomes public. I do not only suffer inside my house. I suffer under the eyes of the village. That is how patriarchy works. It does not only punish women privately. It humiliates them publicly. Even today, this continues. In family WhatsApp gossip. In neighborhood rumors. In character certificate culture. In social media trolling. In moral policing. In victim blaming. A boy's mistake is called immaturity. A girl's mistake, or even rumor, is called character. This is not justice. This is gendered cruelty. My rights as a human being. Before I am a wife, I am a human being. And as a human being, I have rights. I have the right to dignity, to emotional care, to safety, to companionship, to desire without shame, to speak, to be heard, to not be treated like property, to not be put on trial for simply being a woman. Please remember this line. Women's rights are not modern fashion. They are human rights. A woman does not become less moral because she asks for love. A woman does not become less respectable because she asks for respect. A woman does not become less Indian because she asks for freedom. If Indian culture means only female sacrifice and male freedom, then that culture must be questioned. Culture is not a temple that cannot be touched. Culture must answer to justice. How gender is constructed, and how I was forced to perform it. Now let us think deeply, as students of literature. I was not born with the role, ideal wife, written on my body. Society taught me that role. I was taught, be quiet, be modest, be patient, be forgiving, be pure, Be obedient. This is exactly what Simone de Beauvoir meant when she wrote, "One is not born a woman, one becomes one." That means womanhood, as society defines it, is trained. It is constructed. And Judith Butler later argued that gender is something society makes us perform again and again, through clothes, behavior, speech, and rules. That is my life in Nagamandala. I am pushed to perform good wifehood. I must act the role, even when my heart is breaking. How many Indian women still do this today? They smile in family photos. They serve tea to guests. They post happy anniversary online. And inside, they are shattered. That is gender performance. That is social acting. And many women are forced to do it every day. 9. My story through Western feminist critics. Let me now speak with the strength of women thinkers from the world. Virginia Woolf said, "A woman must have money and a room of her own." Why is this important to my story? Because I did not even have a real room of my own. I had a house, yes, but not freedom. A locked house is not a room of one's own. Woolf also said women have long served as mirrors reflecting men's importance. That is exactly how patriarchy treats wives. A wife is expected to make the husband feel powerful, respectable, central. But what about the woman's inner world? You must know Simone de Beauvoir. As I said, de Beauvoir helps us see that womanhood is socially made, not naturally fixed. I was shaped into the role of ideal wife. And when I failed to fit it perfectly, society attacked me. Let me inform you what Judith Butler tells. Butler helps us understand that femininity is policed. Financial Times. In my life, every gesture, every movement, every possibility of desire is monitored. My body is not seen as mine. It is treated as a site of male honor. That is not love. That is surveillance. So if you read me carefully, I am not simply a village woman in a folktale. I am a powerful feminist text. My story through Indian feminist critics is also enlightening. Now let me speak from India, because my pain is rooted here. Do you know Naivdita Menon? Menon explains patriarchy as a system deeply anxious about women's sexuality and therefore obsessed with controlling it. In one discussion of patriarchy and paternity, she notes how women's sexuality is strictly policed because fatherhood depends on social control, not certainty. Is this not my story? Why was society so angry with me? Not because they cared for truth, but because they feared a woman beyond control. Uma Chakravarti points out that, through the idea of Brahmanical patriarchy, Indian feminist thought has shown how women's sexuality, marriage, purity, caste, and family honor are tightly connected in Indian society. My body in the play is not just my body. It becomes a battlefield of social honor. Kumkum Sangari and other Indian feminists are of the view that Indian feminist criticism repeatedly shows how tradition often speaks in the language of protection, while actually practicing control. Stay inside for your safety. Obey for your own good. Be pure for family honor. How sweet those words sound, and how violent they are in practice. This is why my story still matters in India today. The writer used me to expose Indian society. Please understand this carefully. Girish Karnad did not create me only to entertain you. He used me to expose Indian society in at least 5 powerful ways. First, he exposed the cruelty inside marriage. Marriage is often worshipped in India as sacred. But Karnad asks, what if the sacred institution is unjust to the woman inside it? Second, he exposed society's obsession with female purity. A man may be cruel and still remain socially acceptable. But a woman under suspicion becomes a scandal. Third, he exposed how truth is not always social truth. Sometimes, what society accepts as truth is only power speaking loudly. Fourth, he exposed the loneliness of women. Women's emotional suffering is often erased in literature and in life. Carned gives it center stage. Fifth, he exposed the hypocrisy of patriarchy. The same society that neglects women later judges them. That is hypocrisy. Incarnate tears off its mask. I am not alone. I belong to a long line of Indian women characters who suffer, question, resist, and rise. I am like Draupadi. Not because our stories are identical, but because both of us are judged publicly. A woman's body becomes public debate. A woman's dignity becomes a social spectacle. I am like Sita. She too had to prove purity before society. Tell me honestly, why is it that men are rarely asked for such proof? I am like Nora from Ibsen in spirit. But in Indian terms, I am also like many women in Indian fiction who wake up slowly to the truth of their condition. I am like women in the works of Ismat Chudai, Mahasweta Devi, Amrita Pritam, Shashi Deshpande, Kamala Das. These women writers gave voice to female interiority, desire, pain, memory, rebellion, silence, and survival. I, too, am part of that literary sisterhood. And to literature students here, I say, do not read me as a moral lesson. Read me as a political text. Read me as a gendered text. Read me as a cry from within Indian domestic life. My connection with Indian mythology is very strong. Indian mythology is full of powerful women, but also full of women who were tested, doubted, or controlled. I connect with Sita. She crossed fire to prove what should never have needed proof. I connect with Draupadi. She stood in a public court where men debated her dignity. I connect with Ahilya, a woman whose story has long been told through male judgment. I connect with Shakuntala, a woman whose truth depended on whether a man remembered her. Do you see the pattern? Again and again in Indian stories, women are made to carry proof, purity, patience, pain, and men carry authority. This is exactly why my story matters. I am not outside Indian tradition. I am inside it, exposing it. Let me share you my message to the women of India. My sisters of India, young women, students, teachers, daughters, wives, dreamers. This is my message to you. Do not mistake silence for virtue. A quiet woman is not always a happy woman. Do not mistake suffering for duty. Pain is not proof of good character. Do not mistake control for love. If someone wants to own you, monitor you, shrink you, shame you, that is not love. Do not think your life begins only after marriage. Your life is already yours. Do not let society define your worth by purity, obedience, or sacrifice alone. You are not a family project. You are a person. Claim your mind. Read, think, speak, question. Claim your body. Your body is not a courtroom where society keeps passing judgment. Claim your story. If you do not tell your story, others will tell it for you, and they will tell it wrongly. And to the young men of India, let me also say this. If you want to honor women, do not worship them like goddesses while controlling them like property. Do something harder and better. Treat them as equals. This is my final defense. So today, before this gathering of readers, I say, I am not unfit for Indian society. If Indian society cannot understand my pain, my dignity, my loneliness, my rights, and my humanity, then it is Indian society that must become fit for justice. Do not ask whether I was a good woman. Ask instead, was I loved? Was I heard? Was I treated as human? Was I given freedom? Was I given dignity? That is the real test. And if my story troubles you, that is good. Literature should trouble us. Literature should disturb false comfort. Literature should break the lock on old thinking. I am Rani. I am the woman you blamed. I am the woman you misunderstood. I am the woman who survived your judgment. And today, I return not with shame, but with a voice. Thank you. Share and subscribe this if you like my arguments.